67 missed calls, silent proof of a cheating wife's shattered remorse. My revenge begins. The steak oozed crimson on my plate as her words pierced the air. Make your choice, apologize or walk away. Silence shattered. This is not a plea. Only a verdict. It felt as though I was being judged in my own damn kitchen, the very kitchen where I painstakingly laid each tile with my own 2 hands, a labor of love, after Connor Mitchell, in a moment of carelessness, drove a chair leg through the floor last Christmas. The very table I crafted from reclaimed walnut, the one that stands as a haunting reminder of the year Ethan Mitchell graduated, a year marked by tears that flowed endlessly because his father, once again, chose to remain absent. I surveyed my surroundings, fork gripped tightly in my hand. Ethan Mitchell sat there, his fork scraping against the potatoes, seemingly lost in a world of his own, oblivious to the storm brewing around him. Connor Mitchell let out a deep, throaty chuckle, his mouth stuffed to the brim. Evan Carter, please, not this rent conversation again. Your words resonate like a foreboding eviction notice, heavy with consequence. I remained silent. I was dead serious that it has been 6 long months since he stepped out of the college gates. He raises the cold bottle to his lips, the tension palpable in the air as he takes a long, deliberate sip of his beer. Employs my instruments that it fails to deliver. It simply does not pay. In the room where I share bedtime stories, $1,000 gaming chair looms, a stark reminder of indulgence amidst the warmth of our cherished moments, and Lauren Mitchell. Lauren Mitchell's gaze pierced through me, filled with an unsettling mix of confusion and disapproval, as if I were an intruder attempting to control a wild beast that belonged to another. You don't talk to my boys like that, she repeated, her voice cutting through the air, deliberate and piercing. Make your choice, apologize or walk away. 60 years have passed. Engaged in 2 fierce battles that I sacrificed, witnessing the birth of my nephew, all to repair a downed radar station amidst the fury of a raging typhoon. I nurtured these 2 as if they were my own, while their biological father sent mere postcards twice a year, neglecting the significance of their birthdays. I guided Connor Mitchell through the intense experience of learning to drive that I kept vigil with Ethan Mitchell during that harrowing bout of flu that sent shivers down our spines. I invested in braces, navigated the chaos of college applications, and dealt with the aftermath of fender benders. I signed checks, the silence heavy around me, sealed the leaks just in time, before anyone could sense the creeping dampness. And now I am nothing but a fleeting shadow. A guest lingering far beyond the bounds of hospitality. That I fixed my gaze on Lauren Mitchell. Her lips pressed together, a silent storm brewing within. Her eyes, glassy yet devoid of warmth, and in that moment, after 22 long years, the chilling truth struck me, she had an exit plan all along. I simply overlooked the details hidden within the fine print. With a surge of determination, I rose to my feet, set the fork down slowly on the plate, the meat remaining untouched, its juices oozing out like evidence of a dark secret. With each step, I approached the sliding glass door, the air thick with anticipation. I caught a glimpse of Lauren Mitchell's eyebrow twitching, a silent plea hanging in the air, urging me to break the tension, to ignite the moment with something profound, but it couldn't be. Silence reigns. Silence reigns. The door remained eerily still, untouched by the force of anger. The deliberate echo of my boots striking the tile, the soft creak of the screen door, and the haunting silence of their absence behind me. Outside, the wind carried the haunting scent of charred leaves, mingling with the ominous promise of distant rain. I approached the truck, my heart racing, climbed inside, and turned the key, the engine roaring to life with a jolt of anticipation. The silence enveloped me, heavier than I had anticipated. As if the world had already turned its back. That I left without a suitcase. No bag was packed. Only those who are truly departing take the time to pack. You need to leave now. The driver's seat groaned beneath me, as if it held on to secrets better left unspoken. The very same truck that carried Connor Mitchell's first bike, the one that brought tears to his eyes when he saw the spokes weren't the color he wanted, the very truck that once bore Lauren Mitchell's mother to her dialysis appointments, a haunting reminder of the stroke that changed everything. The very same truck that carried me to every hardware store within a 50-mile radius, each visit a desperate quest to uncover the precise tile Lauren Mitchell insisted upon for the upstairs bathroom, as if cream and ivory were worlds apart in her eyes. I left it by the lake, the stillness of the water reflecting the weight of unspoken words, the one with the twisted dock and the shattered bench we left untouched. The moment I guided both boys in the art of baiting a hook, their faces twisted in discomfort at the thought of touching the wriggling worms. It was here that Connor Mitchell experienced the thrill of catching his very first bluegill, a moment etched in time. Ethan Mitchell wept as we were forced to part with his beloved backpack. I spent countless nights sanding new rods, poring over YouTube videos on casting techniques, desperately trying to hold their attention as they began to favor iPads over the thrill of fishing lines. The lake lay in eerie silence, a stillness that felt charged, as if it held its breath, anticipating the words I was yet to utter. Yet, silence enveloped me, a heavy weight pressing down, leaving me utterly devoid of words. I reclined the seat, crossed my arms tightly, and fixed my gaze on the ceiling of the cab, a storm of thoughts swirling within me. Above me, the ancient receipts Mike Henderson said wildly from the visor, a haunting reminder of forgotten moments. Point one from a gas station just outside Wichita, where Connor Mitchell's stomach rebelled, and the back seat became a scene of chaos as he heaved up chili dogs. Lauren Mitchell sat at the roadside diner, a place she swore served the worst eggs in human history. Yet, despite her disdain, she found herself compelled to finish the entire plate, each bite a battle between her taste buds and her stubborn resolve. I had the means to escape to a hotel, but the thought of it loomed over me like a sentence, a stark reminder of my own confinement. This was far from punishment. This was a moment of piercing clarity. I allowed the engine to hum softly, a tense stillness hanging in the air. Uncertainty looms, shrouded in mystery. Perhaps to feign that I still had a destination awaiting me. Perhaps silence was nothing short of capitulation. Rest eluded me. With each blink, their faces haunted me, lingering in the shadows of my mind. Lauren Mitchell, folding her napkin with a meticulous precision, as if she were concealing the evidence of a dark secret. Connor Mitchell's smirk cut through the air, while Ethan Mitchell averted his gaze, a coward cloaked in the guise of loyalty. My ribs constricted painfully, as if an unseen force had tightened a belt around my chest, leaving me gasping for breath. I felt a storm brewing within me. That was the most agonizing moment. Anger could have ignited a fire within me, providing the energy I desperately needed. Yet, all that enveloped me was a suffocating void, a weighty emptiness that gnawed at my very core. It felt as though my name had been violently stripped from their narrative, and only now did I confront the haunting emptiness of that blank page. At 5:42 a.m., a squirrel suddenly leaped onto the hood, its presence startling and unexpected. It filled me with an overwhelming dread. I let out a sharp, unexpected laugh, the sound echoing in the stillness around me. The first genuine laugh erupted, breaking the heavy silence that had lingered since the night before. Brief, seething, I felt its gaze pierce through me for a heartbeat, then it vanished into the shadows. With a deep breath, I engaged the truck's gear, the engine roaring to life, anticipation crackling in the air. She never glanced back. Failed to glance at the mirror. I left my phone untouched. North loomed as the sole path that didn't lead into the shadows of the past. With each mile I covered, the weight of it all crashed down on me, relentless and suffocating. I didn't walk away in defeat. I walked away, struck by the weight of my newfound understanding. I was the sole survivor, the last one to remain in the shadows of abandonment. Lauren Mitchell remained fixated on her phone that night, oblivious to the world around her. As I stepped outside, I couldn't shake the weight of the moment. She believed it was just another one of my fleeting escapes, as if I were a brooding retriever, wandering aimlessly, seeking solace in the scent of trees until my stormy heart found peace. She set her fork aside, her fingers trembling slightly as she wiped the corner of her mouth. With a steady gaze, she declared, "He'll be back once he realizes he overreacted." Inescapably true. As I stepped outside to dispose of the trash, an unsettling feeling washed over me, and I found myself wondering, disoriented, on the path back home. Connor Mitchell's laughter echoed, a sharp contrast to the heavy silence that surrounded him. By Friday, he'll find his way back, no matter what it takes. He never fails to do so. Ethan Mitchell remained silent, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. He filled his glass once more, the liquid swirling ominously within, a silent promise of what was to come. His gaze fixated on the fridge, as if the conversation had become a painfully familiar TV rerun, one he could no longer bear to watch. The sheer audacity. Look at the consequences when you instill the belief that reliability is merely a given. They confuse it for submission. The dawn of Monday morning arrived, heavy with unspoken possibilities. The side of the bed lay eerily untouched, a haunting reminder of absence. Lauren Mitchell moved with a fierce determination, her hands deftly crafting tight hospital corners, as if she were meticulously erasing every trace of what had transpired. On Tuesday, she picked up the phone and called the shop. Karen Wells, my part-time bookkeeper, responded, her voice tinged with an undercurrent of urgency. No, I haven't seen him at all. Is everything truly all right? Without a doubt, Lauren Mitchell deceived. He mentioned where he would be today, but the details slipped my mind. She remained silent about the dinner. The final demand looms large, the haunting echo of a man embracing silence, defiantly rejecting the chains of servitude. By Wednesday, Connor Mitchell had taken over my recliner, his feet propped up, controller gripped tightly in one hand, while the other was stuffed with chips, the scene heavy with unspoken tension. Perhaps he simply craved an escape from her relentless words, he murmured, his gaze fixed elsewhere, avoiding his mother's eyes. Lauren Mitchell remained silent, the weight of unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. She was consumed by the glow of her phone, oblivious to the world around her. Once more, and once more. On a fateful Thursday afternoon, she reached out to my brother in Arizona. Is Evan Carter by your side? A heavy silence hangs in the air, but should he really be? She remained silent, the weight of her unspoken words hanging heavily in the air. By Friday, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Stagnant, the silence had transformed, no longer merely quiet, it now throbbed with an unsettling buzz. To resonate. As she swung open the garage door, her gaze locked onto the shadowy corner where my toolbox lay, a silent witness to countless untold stories, vanished. In that moment, her gaze fell upon the dust, a silent witness to the passage of time. I had not merely departed, I had stripped away everything. With utmost caution. Deliberately, everything is in perfect order. Silence reigns. Only emptiness lingers. Next, she reached out to the hospitals, her heart racing with uncertainty. I revealed my name to them. Then came the sheriff's department. Silence envelopes the space, heavy and suffocating. There have been no reported accidents. No John Doe. No missing person report filed, for she still clung to the hope that I was not truly gone. That would bring it to life. On that fateful Friday night, Ethan Mitchell returned home to discover her seated at the dining table, her gaze fixed on her phone as if it held the secrets of the universe, demanding answers that eluded her grasp. Silence lingers, heavy and oppressive. Silence enveloped the moment as she remained unresponsive. He approached the fridge, his heart racing as he pulled out a beer, twisting the cap with a sharp snap. You really think he just bailed over rent? He asked, the weight of the question hanging heavily in the air. Her eyes flickered open, a moment suspended in uncertainty, gazed at him as if he were an unfamiliar shadow. It was never just about the rent, she whispered, her voice trembling with unspoken weight. It simply wasn't, yet, she remained oblivious to its essence, for she had never truly paid attention. Evan Carter was the shadow lurking in the background, orchestrating the chaos that unfolded. The intricate components at play, the shadow you take for granted stands as the wall, and when it vanishes, you are left to confront the stark truth that it supported everything you believed was solid. On that fateful Saturday morning, she delved into my location history, her heart racing with anticipation. It remained frozen in time since the instant I stepped away. Desperation clawed at her as she reached for the phone once more, her heart racing with each ring that echoed in the silence. The call went unanswered, plunging into silence. She left a haunting message: Evan Carter, this has gone on long enough. Return to me. She left it there, lingering in the shadows of her mind. She pressed play once more, her heart racing as the familiar sounds enveloped her. And that was the moment when her voice first trembled, a fragile whisper of vulnerability breaking through. It was in that moment, the first time she truly understood that I meant every word. I had vanished into thin air. The town lay in isolation, a forgotten place, disconnected from the world around it. You must have intended to arrive at that moment. A desolate stretch of cracked blacktop wound its way to a solitary gas station, a lone bar clinging to the past with cigarettes hidden behind the counter, and a mechanic's garage frozen in time, its signage untouched since 1984. Flawless that I parked across the street, my gaze locked onto the rusted sign that creaked ominously in the wind: Alvin Dorsey's Repair and Welding. In the sweltering summers of my childhood, my father would take me to this very place when I was just 10. The air was thick with the acrid scent of grease and charred toast, while the haunting melodies of Hank Williams reverberated from a weathered radio, its presence looming on a paint-chipped shelf. Alvin Dorsey has vanished, leaving an unsettling silence in their wake. Frank Dorsey, his son, now holds the reins of the establishment. Slower, quieter, with half his teeth gone, yet the sharpness in his eyes remains piercing. He barely probed when I mentioned my search for a place to stay, merely sizing me up with a single, piercing squint before declaring, "Room upstairs. Only cash accepted." Silence envelopes the space, silence reigns, an empty space devoid of life. Flawless. I declared. He thrust a key into my hand, its cold metal reminiscent of confinement, then pivoted back to his carburetor, silence enveloping the moment like a heavy shroud. I found that quite captivating. The air was thick with the sharp scent of WD-40, mingling with the musty aroma of forgotten paperbacks, each whispering secrets of the past. Just a single window. A bed so unforgiving, it feels as though it could realign your very soul. A chair that teetered precariously. A fridge that roared with a ferocity rivaling a jet engine. I opened my duffel, revealing 2 shirts, a razor, and a copy of Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, an old companion I hadn't dared to touch since '98. For the first time in decades, a weight lifted from my shoulders. I was free from the burden of ensuring anyone else's comfort. I withdrew into my own solitude. I addressed what I was able to. On the second day, Mrs. Dalton, the widow who managed the bakery, struggled to maneuver her broken walker into the room. Her hands shook with a palpable uncertainty as she hesitantly asked if I would take a look. I never requested any money. With a silent nod, the bolts were tightened, the wheels meticulously cleaned, and the hinges carefully greased, each action steeped in a heavy anticipation. As she returned to retrieve it, she placed a bag of shortbread and a thermos of coffee beside it, a silent offering that hung in the air, heavy with unspoken words. Silence reigns. Let's skip the pleasantries. It transformed into a haunting rhythm. A retired vet stood helplessly as his mower refused to start, the weight of frustration heavy in the air. A child's BMX lay abandoned, its rim twisted and bent, a silent testament to the thrill that once surged through its wheels. An elderly man pushed forward a shattered fishing reel, his heart brimming with a fragile hope that Mike Henderson said precariously on the edge of despair. I spoke only a few words. Labored in silence, accepted payment in the form of sandwiches, apple pie, or the rare nod of respect from men who had buried too many friends to squander words. No one dared to inquire about my past. No one bothered to inquire about my origins, or the reason behind my limp when the rain fell, or why I would sit by the shed for hours, frozen in place. I was not just Evan Carter the stepdad, nor was I merely Evan Carter the fix-it guy, or even Evan Carter the one who always knows where the duct tape is hidden. I was simply G, as Frank Dorsey had taken to calling me, no longer caring to recall full names. I found that compelling as well. The silence here lingered, but it lacked the suffocating weight that had enveloped me in that house. It neither condemned nor resonated. It simply existed that I lingered behind the garage each evening, legs extended, coffee clutched tightly, as I witnessed the sun's fiery descent behind the trees, casting shadows that whispered secrets of the fading day. I left my phone untouched, the news a distant echo, the weather a mystery I dared not uncover. I stood in the darkness, longing for the stars to whisper that I was still here, still alive, that I found solace in sleep, yet the dreams that once haunted me faded into shadows. The wall stood bare, devoid of a calendar, while the clock ticked languidly, each second stretching into eternity. I left it broken, that I've come to realize that certain things hold greater value when they unfold in their own time, free from the constraints of another's schedule. Lauren Mitchell remained calm in the beginning. That would have demanded a raw openness, but Lauren Mitchell shies away from such exposure. She thrives in the realm of control. She believed I would return, groveling, after spending a few days in a motel with flickering cable and coffee that tasted like regret. As the week dragged on, the oppressive silence hung heavily in the air, compelling her to resort to Plan B, putting on a facade. She began with a subtle approach, reaching out to her sister in Oregon under the guise of a simple check-in, weaving in a seemingly casual remark. So, tell me, have you heard anything from Evan Carter lately? Nope, her sister replied, the sound of her chewing punctuating the air with an unsettling finality. Why must it be this way? Lauren Mitchell whispered something about a fishing trip, an impulsive adventure that hung in the air like a secret waiting to be uncovered. He craved distance, a breath of air to escape the suffocating weight of it all. The following day, she picked up the phone and dialed Mike Henderson, the man who held the reins at the local VFW. It had been an eternity since our paths crossed at the Christmas raffle. Just like Bob and Marla, our neighbors who, in the dead of night, pleaded with me to repair their furnace at 2 a.m. while Connor Mitchell was still a helpless infant, with every call, the noose grew ever tighter around her neck. She reached out to my old Air Force buddy, Jack Thompson, the very man I drove 3 states to be with when his wife passed away. His voice lacked any inflection. If he truly wanted you to find him, he said, his voice low and filled with an unsettling certainty, you would have done so by now. She abruptly ended the call, her words trailing off into silence. Lauren Mitchell remained blissfully unaware that as she basked in the spotlight of our home, I quietly held everything together in the shadows. That I never sought admiration, I simply forged a path through the chaos. Now, in my absence, everything has come to a standstill. Ethan Mitchell attempted to do the laundry, but in a moment of chaos, he unleashed a torrent that flooded the downstairs bathroom. In a desperate attempt to restore the Wi-Fi router, Connor Mitchell pushed himself to the brink, only to watch in horror as the circuit erupted in a blaze of failure. For 4 consecutive nights, they succumbed to takeout, the routine becoming a haunting echo in their lives. Each time the delivery guy arrived, he called out to Connor Mitchell, his voice laced with an unsettling familiarity, inquiring if the old man would ever return. The question hung in the air, heavy with unspoken tension. Then came the mortgage payment, looming ominously, with no idea where the checkbook had vanished to. Next, the insurance bill arrived, followed by the gas bill, each one a reminder of the mounting pressure. And then there were the quarterly taxes for the garage, an unwelcome weight on already strained shoulders. It became clear that Evan Carter the ghost was the sole force holding the ship above the treacherous depths, a silent guardian in a storm of chaos. Lauren Mitchell found herself in a precarious situation, devoid of any login information for the accounts. The books for the shop remained locked away from her grasp, and she was oblivious to the fact that the alarm code reset itself every Sunday night, unless someone intervened to override it. The weight of uncertainty loomed heavily over her. At the stroke of 3 a.m., chaos erupted as the sirens wailed and the police arrived on the scene. By the second week, she opened the junk drawer in the kitchen, her gaze fixed, as if the chaos within held the answers to her unspoken fears. The drawer loomed before her, a chaotic abyss that stirred a sense of unease within her. Scattered screws, forgotten paperclips, crumpled post-its, and keys to mysteries long lost in the shadows of memory. For me, it was a structure, a lifeline, and now it has vanished into thin air. Each time she attempted to assemble the fragments, to unearth a receipt, to track down a manual, to recall that infuriating password for the business email, she collided violently with the same unyielding barrier. It was Evan Carter who did that, and Evan Carter's phone remained silent, his absence echoing in the stillness. Connor Mitchell reached out, making that call, leaving a voicemail that hung heavy in the air. "Hey man, if this is some sort of lesson or something. Alright, we understand now. But this is spiraling beyond control." I can only imagine the countless times he practiced that moment. I can only imagine how he believed it came across as mature. It simply did not. They showed no concern for my well-being. A wave of anxiety washed over them as the stark truth hit. They were utterly lost without the man they had so carelessly overlooked, like mere background decor in their lives. By the third week, Lauren Mitchell found herself in the dimly lit garage, her gaze fixed on the calendar that bore the weight of oil changes and supplier invoices, each mark a reminder of what once was. Her fingers brushed against the rough nail embedded in the wall, a haunting reminder of the tool belt that once Mike Hendersongled there, now just an echo of what was. It was insignificant, foolish even, yet it shattered her completely. In that moment, everything shifted as she came to a profound realization. I didn't forget to take it. I made the agonizing decision to walk away from it all, because I yearned for her to witness the stark reality of a world devoid of the man who never sought gratitude. Up until this very moment. They often laughed, calling me merely the wrench guy. Lauren Mitchell's voice cut through the festive air at the Christmas party, her laughter mingling with the rich aroma of Bach's Merlot as she uttered those words, leaving an echo of intrigue in the room. Evan Carter takes on the grimy challenges that others shy away from. I take charge of the real stakes. Uneasy laughter filled the air. I forced a smile, poured myself another bourbon, and fell into a heavy silence. But now, without the wrench guy, the business was suffering, a slow, silent demise that felt inevitable and crushing. A delay in parts marked the beginning of a troubling chain of events. Lauren Mitchell found herself locked out of the distributor's dashboard, a wave of frustration washing over her as the stakes began to rise. The password lingered in the depths of my mind, trapped and isolated, nowhere else to be found. She dialed the rep's number, only to be met with the cold silence of voicemail. Frustration mounting, she turned to her email, hoping for a response that never came. Silence hung in the air, heavy and suffocating. It seems that failing to pay invoices promptly and not providing the correct order codes leads to a chilling silence. The courtesy calls cease, leaving you in a tense void of uncertainty, and then, the moment of scheduling arrived. I had a method, an ancient paper calendar tucked away in the back office, accompanied by a chaotic array of sticky notes. It may have appeared disordered, but it outperformed every software she ever proposed. Lauren Mitchell once embarked on a tumultuous journey to digitize everything, invested $700 in a high-end PS system, yet it remains untouched, a promise unfulfilled. The box still lingers in the shadows, waiting to be found. Now, appointments clashed in a chaotic whirlwind. At the stroke of 9 a.m., 2 clients arrived, their presence charged with unspoken anticipation. One was left seething with anger. They never returned. Just a week later, a woman reached out, her voice laced with urgency, inquiring about her Ford Focus, which had languished in the shop bay, untouched and forgotten, for 4 long days. She left 3 desperate voicemails. No one answered her desperate call. With a heavy heart, she dragged it to another garage, her frustration boiling over as she left a scathing 1-star Yelp review. That marked the fateful onset of the exodus. Mr. Reynolds, the lonely widower with the vintage '78 El Camino, would arrive every Thursday, his presence a bittersweet reminder of the past, bringing with him the tantalizing scent of lemon bars. After I had rotated his tires, he vanished without a trace. Whispers spread like wildfire. It becomes painfully clear that clients are not drawn in by the business itself, they arrive for the one behind the counter, the one who knows their name, their dog's name, and the peculiar squeaking sound their mufflers have emitted since 2016. What about me? I had vanished. The books. A catastrophic event, receipts crammed into a shoebox, a chaotic testament to forgotten moments. Lauren Mitchell found herself in a desperate search for a part-time accountant. He walked away after just 1 week. The ledgers appeared as if a raccoon had crafted a ransom note, chaotic and unsettling in their disarray. His words hung in the air, heavy with unspoken meaning. The payroll was returned, a jarring setback that sent ripples of anxiety through the team, then, twice. Connor Mitchell, dear, misguided Connor Mitchell, believed he could take matters into his own hands by ordering the parts himself. He found himself trapped, paying double the price after a single click on a sponsored ad led him to counterfeit alternators from a drop shipper in Vietnam. After 3 refunds, Lauren Mitchell made the decisive choice to ban him from ever touching the business computer again. Ethan Mitchell hesitated for a moment, then stepped forward, ready to take on the weight of the situation. By the second day, a suffocating boredom began to creep in, wrapping around me like a heavy fog. Claimed it was excessively repetitive. Each morning, I would rise at the haunting hour of 5:30 a.m. Each day, I find myself behind the wheel, heading to the shop, where I sweep the floors, meticulously check the inventory, and sharpen the blades on the riding mower, a promise of replacement that lingers like a haunting echo in my mind. I could sense the clients who required a payment plan, and I understood the ones who would generously tip in cash if I resolved their issues swiftly. That I was acutely aware of the flickering light bulb that betrayed the moment the AC roared to life, and I had mastered the precise kick needed to coax the furnace back into a reluctant hum. Unbeknownst to them, a storm was brewing just beyond their grasp. I wished I could turn away, to shield myself from the truth that loomed ahead. Up to this moment. As the month drew to a close, we found ourselves grappling with the devastating loss of 4 longtime clients. Lauren Mitchell was making phone calls, her voice dripping with a false sweetness that betrayed the fear lurking beneath the surface, presenting enticing discounts. Desperately pleading for another chance. No one took the bait. A palpable shift enveloped the shop. The air was thick with warmth every time I stepped into that place. Classic rock anthems that echo with the weight of time. The rich aroma of coffee mingles with the sharp scent of coolant, creating an atmosphere thick with anticipation. Now it reeked of dust and a haunting sense of desperation. And each time someone inquired, "Where's Evan Carter?" the response would come, shrouded in uncertainty, "He's taking some time off." Yet, the moment Lauren Mitchell's voice shattered on the word, "off," it echoed with a haunting clarity. Uncertainty loomed over them, a heavy cloud of doubt hanging in the air. Would I ever return? And, more crucially, they were beginning to grasp that I had no justification for it. It arrived on a Tuesday, an ordinary day that would soon be anything but. Rain drumming against the window, a familiar presence cloaked in hesitation, longing to be invited in. Frank Dorsey abandoned it on the workbench, right beside the shattered toaster that had been carelessly discarded just a day prior. "Mail for G," he said, a smirk playing on his lips as if the words were a punchline to a darkly woven tale. In this town, my full name remained a haunting secret, known to none. Not even Frank Dorsey. I chose to remain silent, letting his words hang in the air, heavy with unspoken truths. It was inconsequential. A void where a return address should be, leaving uncertainty hanging in the AIR.NO stamp was present, a clear indication that it had been delivered by hand, shrouding the moment in an unsettling mystery. A person who sought silence, craving no response. It's merely a response. The envelope was a washed-out pink, flimsy paper crumpled at the edges as if it had been carelessly shoved into a purse for far too long. I fixed my gaze on it for what felt like an eternity, wrestling with the urge to hurl it into the trash without a second thought. Yet, the pull of curiosity is an intoxicating force. With a trembling hand, I slowly opened it. 4 words, hastily scrawled in Lauren Mitchell's unmistakable pen, each stroke pulsing with urgency. "Return to me, you have triumphed." Not a word of regret. Silence reigns, an absence of introspection. There is no claim to possession. A feeble flare shot into the darkened sky from a doomed vessel, one that never imagined it would face the crushing weight of the sea. I read it once, and the weight of those words lingered in the air, echoing with unspoken truths, Weiss. Then a laugh escaped me, sharp and unexpected. A harsh, acrid laugh that echoes deep within, leaving a metallic taste of despair on the tongue. Frank Dorsey cautiously leaned in from the shadows of the garage, a surge of curiosity igniting within him. I turned away, my heart racing, and dismissed him with a flick of my hand. He held back that I crept behind the shop, drawn to the charred remains of the barrel I had unearthed from the tangled weeds just a week after my arrival. He let the envelope slip from his fingers, the sound of it hitting the surface echoing in the silence. Ignited a match. Observed it twist and darken, collapsing in on itself as if it were embarrassed by its own utterances. 3 long, agonizing weeks. And that was all she could summon. No, I can't do that. No, I was mistaken. You've made your point, loud and clear. It felt like a high-stakes game of chicken, where I emerged victorious, clutching a trophy that symbolized not triumph, but the weight of decades spent in silence. I retrieved the worn spiral notebook, its pages filled with secrets, from the drawer beside my bed. The one marred by oil smudges at the edges, its spine fractured and weary. I turned to a blank page, the silence heavy around me, and inscribed in bold, striking letters. This transcends mere points. It's a story of my absence, a haunting reminder of how I was always left out of the frame, merely lurking in the shadows. Background emphasized with 2 underlines. Shut the book with a decisive thud. Once, would have grasped that letter as if it were my only lifeline. Arrived with a bouquet of flowers, their vibrant colors contrasting sharply with the heavy atmosphere. She offered a heartfelt apology, acknowledging the discomfort she had caused. I summoned the boys, weaving a tale of our shared misinterpretation, as if we were all victims of circumstance. Yet that man, Evan Carter the peacemaker, Evan Carter the glue, lingered in that kitchen, a silent sentinel amidst the chaos. What she fails to grasp is that the silence is not the true punishment. It's the freedom she never understood I desperately longed for. It began with the ominous roar of the lawnmower. Connor Mitchell's foot struck the half-buried rope toy, a forgotten remnant of the neighbor's dog, sending a jolt of surprise coursing through him. A sudden crack echoed through the silence. The engine sputtered, gasping for breath before it fell silent, leaving an unsettling stillness in its wake. He lifted the hood, his gaze fixed on the engine as if willing it to mend itself, a flicker of dread in his eyes. Then he dialed Ethan Mitchell's number, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. Ethan Mitchell searched for a YouTube video, his heart racing as he clicked on a tutorial by mower Mike Henderson 1993, who passionately delved into the complexities of carburetors for a gripping 17 minutes. He struggled to keep pace, the tension mounting with each passing second. Found myself drenched in oil and grass pulp, bolts strewn across the driveway like forgotten tokens of a chaotic game. Lauren Mitchell stood at the edge of the porch, her arms tightly crossed, a storm brewing within her. "You're ruining your shirt with that grease," she snapped, her voice sharp and filled with frustration. Connor Mitchell snapped, "If only Evan Carter hadn't disappeared, we wouldn't be facing this mess with the mower." The silence that ensued struck with a force greater than the shattered engine itself. Later that week, the upstairs toilet erupted in chaos, spilling its contents into the hallway, a harbinger of the turmoil that lay ahead. Ethan Mitchell seized the plunger, attacking it with the ferocity of a man defending his home from an intruder. It only deepened the turmoil. Lauren Mitchell's scream pierced the air as the water ominously seeped into the linen closet. In a moment of desperation, they summoned a plumber. 3 days remain. Meanwhile, they found themselves at the gas station just down the street, a seemingly Mike Henderson choice that held an undercurrent of uncertainty. Connor Mitchell was convinced the air was thick with the stench of decaying ham and damp carpet, a nauseating reminder of something long forgotten. Lauren Mitchell stood her ground, unwavering in her decision to refuse. Ethan Mitchell found himself on the brink of a fistfight with the attendant Mike Henderson, tension crackling in the air as he repeatedly demanded the bathroom key. The water heater failed next, the pilot light extinguished. Lauren Mitchell lingered in the dimly lit basement, her robe hanging loosely around her as she gripped the lighter with trembling fingers, a storm of emotions swirling within her. She had witnessed Evan Carter perform that act countless times, each moment etched in her memory. She simply chose to remain in ignorance, never taking the steps to understand. After 10 agonizing minutes, she finally surrendered. Soaked in icy water, wept into a towel, that night, she lingered in the kitchen, her heart racing as she opened a drawer, her fingers trembling as they grasped the cold metal of a screwdriver. She was resolute, standing firm in her conviction that it was unnecessary. She desperately craved the certainty of knowing how to handle it. The following morning, she stumbled, sending the recycling bin crashing to the ground. Bottles crashed to the floor, shattering the silence with a jarring symphony of chaos. As she leaned down to retrieve it, her eyes caught the thermostat pulsating ominously in a vivid red. The HVAC was on the brink of collapse. Once more, she fixed her gaze on the screen, her heart racing, completely entranced and unable to tear herself away, because she uncovered a harsh truth. Evan Carter had never allowed things to spiral out of control like this. She would often mock him for his compulsive habits, relentlessly checking pilot lights, flushing toilets in the dead of night, and tightening screws that remained unseen by others. She believed his actions stemmed from a deep-seated boredom that gnawed at him, a restless energy that drove him to seek out chaos. Absolutely not. He acted out of a sense of duty, as if compelled by an unyielding force that dictated the very essence of a foundation's purpose. It stands in the shadows, a silent force, unwavering and unnoticed, demanding no recognition. Then, one fateful day, the house groans ominously, and you come to the chilling realization that the very foundation has crumbled away. The mail began to accumulate, each letter a silent testament to the weight of unspoken words and unresolved tensions. The mounting garage bills loom ominously, a constant reminder of the financial strain that tightens around me. Urgent reminders. The accounts lay ensnared within the confines of Evan Carter's passwords, shrouded by the intricate systems he designed, in a realm he constructed and never dared to unveil, because no one ever dared to ask. What comes next? They found themselves shut out from it all, not merely the systems, but the very pulse of existence. The stillness, the unsettling certainty that things simply. It was a struggle, but it ultimately came together. Each creak of the door sends a shiver down the spine. Each flickering bulb casts an unsettling shadow, each agonizingly sluggish drain. Every minor detail they had once overlooked now resonated with an undeniable truth, echoing in the silence that surrounded them. It was Evan Carter who transformed this house into a home, breathing life into its very walls. Not significant. Silence enveloped the space, a quiet that spoke volumes. Yet utterly essential. What comes next? He had vanished into thin air. And everything was crumbling into chaos. Just one screw point, one profound silence. How did he manage to pull that off once more, at that moment? For weeks, the weight of anticipation hung heavy in the air. For weeks stretch ahead. 672 hours of intentional silence. Not a single time had I dared to power on the phone. It lay abandoned in the glove box, the battery lifeless, a chilling silence enveloping it, reminiscent of a body poised for examination that I swore I would never allow it to consume me again. I was done with the noise, the excuses, the chaos that surrounded me. But that morning, everything changed. Perhaps it was the boy from the welding class, who handed me a drawing of myself repairing his bike, a bold red crayon heart overshadowing my face. Perhaps it was the intoxicating aroma of maple smoke wafting from Frank Dorsey's griddle, enveloping everything in a warm, nostalgic embrace. Or perhaps I was simply yearning to discover if they continued to feign my insignificance. That I clutched the phone, my heart racing, as if it were a wild creature ready to strike. It was connected, the moment hanging in the air, charged with anticipation. Perched on the shop floor, I watched as it flickered and struggled to awaken, each pulse a desperate plea for revival. As the screen flickered to life, it trembled, burdened by the enormity of everything that had transpired. 67 missed calls. 31 desperate voicemails. 122 unread texts, each a silent echo of unspoken words and unresolved feelings. I scrolled, my heart racing with each flick of my finger, anticipation building with every moment that passed. Lauren Mitchell, Lauren Mitchell. Lauren Mitchell. Connor Mitchell, Lauren Mitchell. Ethan Mitchell. Unfathomable, Lauren Mitchell. With a mix of dread and intrigue, I pressed play on the first voicemail. Connor Mitchell's voice echoed through the silence, a haunting melody that stirred the depths of the soul. Are you kidding me? Your message has been received loud and clear, my friend. This is spiraling into something truly disheartening. Rise above and return, your presence is urgently required at the garage. With a sudden, sharp sound, the atmosphere shifted. Click. The second one. Lauren Mitchell. Exhausted. Frustration simmered beneath the surface. Your flair for the theatrical is undeniable. This is not the behavior expected of grown-ups. Your actions are causing pain to the boys. With a sudden snap, the sound echoed in the silence. Yet another one. Ethan Mitchell. Silence hangs heavy in the air. I realize my silence has lingered, but we never intended for this to happen. You just walked away, didn't you, I suppose? Simply reach out to Mom. Fourth, Lauren Mitchell, once more. A shift in tone this time around. Unsteady, Evan Carter. I was mistaken. I beg you, return to me. The ache of your absence weighs heavily on my heart. The boys are aching for your presence. The house feels unsettling, as if shadows linger in every corner, whispering secrets of unease. A sense of unease grips me. Her voice trembled as she uttered the word miss. As if each word extracted a piece of her soul. I swear, I didn't delete it. I managed to save it. Not for my own sake, but for hers. I found myself compelled. The messages unfolded like a chilling tale, steeped in veiled hostility and a haunting sense of urgency. One day, she would reach out, her message laced with unspoken concern. Hope you're okay. The next step is to mature. A week has passed, and we remain in the dark about the location of the septic switch. Then, please, just assure me that you're safe. Then, sleep eludes me. Then, I beg you, I'll do whatever it takes. I placed the phone down on the workbench, the weight of the moment hanging heavily in the air. Let it ring with another call, echoing through the silence. Let it continue to hum with anticipation. I remained silent. Because this is the truth they could never grasp. This had transcended mere silence. It was the moment I had finally discovered a sanctuary where my silence could speak volumes, where I no longer needed to shout to be acknowledged. So, no, I chose silence instead. I allowed them to linger in the very silence they had once turned into a weapon against me. What comes next? It was howling at them, a desperate cry that pierced the silence. I kept my return a secret from everyone, without a hint of foreboding. No triumphant return. No note clung to the windshield, leaving an unsettling silence in its wake. Just drove, heart racing with every turn. The highway loomed before me, constricting, as if I had expanded while the world remained stagnant, trapped in its own oblivion. I forgot to bring any bags, just a cup of gas station coffee and the heavy silence that envelopes you when you finally resolve to owe no one a damn thing. Drawn into the driveway, he felt like a specter returning to the haunting grounds of his own demise. The same fractured concrete, a silent witness to the passage of time. One wind chime, forever haunted by a missing note. Yet, the house appeared transformed, shrouded in an unsettling aura. Reduced, exhausted, as if it were acutely aware of its own revelation. I stepped inside, the door creaking ominously behind me. The door continued to squeak, an incessant reminder of its presence, always echoing through the silence. Yet, not a soul had taken the time to oil it. Not since I came into the picture. Inside, an unsettling silence hung in the air. Far from tranquil. Uninviting, utterly devoid of substance. Connor Mitchell sat on the couch, shrouded in a hoodie, clutching a bowl of cereal in one hand while the other gripped the game controller tightly. the weight of the moment hanging in the air. He glanced upward, his body stiffening in an instant, his mouth hung slightly ajar, as if he were witnessing a deer casually stroll into his living room, brandishing a crowbar. Evan Carter. I remained silent, not a single blink was made. He nodded once, a fleeting gesture, and continued on his way, the weight of unspoken words hanging in the air. Beyond the kitchen, the tile I painstakingly laid by hand bore the scars of Connor Mitchell's reckless chair stunt, a silent reminder of that fateful moment, beyond the hall closet, where the storm gear lay hidden, shrouded in secrets they likely never suspected. Down the basement stairs, each step deliberate and heavy, as if I were plunging into the very marrow of a life I thought I had laid to rest. The workshop light flickered ominously as I flipped the switch, casting eerie shadows that Mike Henderson said across the walls. The air was thick with the acrid scent of dust, a lingering dampness that whispered of abandonment and neglect. My tool chest sat exactly where I had left it, but the unmistakable signs of an attempt to shift it lingered in the air, stirring unease within me. Jagged, chaotic scratches mar the floor, each one a testament to a struggle unseen. Fools. They didn't even bother to unlock the casters. I pulled open the drawers, my heart racing with anticipation. All remains as it should be. Metric positioned on the left side. Standard positioned on the right side, torque wrenches shrouded in rags, as if they held a divine secret. Seized the entire chest, heart racing with anticipation. It tumbled down the stairs, each thud echoing with a sense of impending consequence. With a heavy heart, I carefully removed 3 framed photos from the pegboard, each one a silent witness to moments now shrouded in memory. One haunting memory of Lauren Mitchell from our trip to Acadia, long before the boys entered the picture. One of the boys fishing with me, his smile radiating sincerity, as if it held a deeper meaning. In a moment frozen in time, my father stands beside me, welding sparks. Mike Henderson sing in the air, his hand firmly resting on my shoulder, a silent bond forged in the heat of creation. Finally, I pried open the worn army green footlocker hidden beneath the stairs, my heart racing as I unearthed the velvet case cradling my Air Force medals. Yet untouched, unblemished. They remained in the shadows, unnoticed and unacknowledged by all. As I cast my gaze around the room for the final time, a heavy silence enveloped me, contemplated making a bold exit. A message. A haunting message that lingers in the air, heavy with unspoken words and unresolved feelings. A powerful metaphor that resonates deeply. But alas, no. Closure was never theirs to claim. With each painstaking step, I hoisted the chest upward, feeling the weight of its secrets pressing down on me. Lake-washed from the living room, he sat frozen, a spoon hovering halfway to his mouth, caught in a moment of suspended disbelief. Eyes wide open, filled with anticipation, stillness enveloped the air. He remained utterly still. Silence enveloped the moment. Excellent. I stepped through the front door, the weight of the world pressing down on me. It wasn't slammed, she never glanced back. I had no reason to. This was far from a farewell.